Commissioners meeting into session. This meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners is being conducted electronically pursuant to Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order number 16. I would ask for a motion that conducting the meeting electronically is necessary to protect the public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus. Is there a motion? Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Vote yes. Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Vote yes. 21 yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to ask all of our guests in the audience to please stand as I ask Chaplain Trey Gooch to come forward and lead us this meeting in prayer, followed by he will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and the salute to the state flag. Commissioner, recognized.
Oh, Father, we love you and we praise your name, for we know that all will trust you. Father, we're so thankful for this world that you've given us to live in. So thankful that you gave your Son to intercede on our behalf. We've named the earth as a man, and humbled himself as a servant, and became obedient to death, even to death upon the cross, so that we may have life everlasting. Father, as we've mentioned several times, there are people who work for the county government that are just so awesome. But I'd like to dedicate our prayer today to our clerk, Lisa Duke, for her love and pride and commitment to both the county and people. For those that for
our dedication and faithful service in your kingdom. So we ask that you would give her many more years of good health and prosperity. Father, we know that we have sinned and fallen short, and we ask that you would remove our transgressions from us just as far as the east is from the west. And we ask that your blessings upon this body, may the things that we do or say reflect the love that we have for you. And it's through Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
3 white stars on a field of blue, God keep them strong and ever true. It is with pride and love that we salute the flag of Tennessee.
Everybody be seated. I'd like to welcome all of our guests here tonight as we take up the business of this commission. Madam Clerk, if you would, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Present.
Is present. Commissioner Piercy?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Rather?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner P?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Cook?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Buchanan?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Cush?
Present.
Is present. Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Gurley?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Blair?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Allen?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Stevens?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Harris?
Here.
is present. Commissioner Dodd?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Phillips?
Present.
Is present. Commissioner McAdoo? Is present. Commissioner Key?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Gooch?
Here.
Is present. Commissioner Sereno?
Yeah.
We have a quorum, 21 present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This time I'd like to call on Chairman Pro Tem Jeff Phillips for reading and approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Ketron. I've reviewed the minutes from our March the 11th meeting. I find them to be in order, and I move that we dispense with the reading and they be adopted as presented.
I have a motion for adoption. Is there a second? Commissioner Johnson on the second. Any questions? Seeing none, without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cook? Votes yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Votes yes. Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Votes yes. 21 yes. Motion passes.
Motion passes. Next, item F is our public comments. I'd like to call on Chief Farley and all involved. If you would, please come up. I'd like to call on Lance, Alexis, and daughter to please come forward. Members, I asked Chief Farley to, during our recent storm, we had a swiftwater rescue, and I think we needed to recognize many of the rescues that we made, and we've brought two of the rescues here tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to Chief Farley and to recognize his crew and our guest.
Rose, who's over our special operations team, Chris Moulder, our lieutenant on the Squad 52 truck, engineer Doug Roll, firefighter Desmond Baker, and firefighter Bob Walsh. And I'll let Mr. Alexis kind of explain what this is all about.
This isn't easy to do, but I did bring some notes. So definitely these men were extremely heroic. On the night of Palm Sunday, actually, I believe that was March 28th, they rescued us and they saved us. We ended up in some high water, made a poor decision thinking I could get through it, and couldn't. We were swept into a ditch. The car began to take on water and it began to sink. My daughter and I were submerged and were very close to being completely submerged within the vehicle. And at the last possible moment, these men just were our saviors. I have a few words I would like to say. I and my daughter are so happy to be here. And there's my daughter, Annabelle. We're very happy to say a few words about these amazing rescue workers. Without them and those that took and routed our 911 call, we would not be here. That's a fact. God is love, truth, and all that is good. We are made in His image and likeness, and His divine light shines in all of us. I have no doubt that light shines brightly in this team. They rushed in and saved me and my daughter from drowning. And now we can continue our blessed life and fulfill all God has planned for us. They will always be remembered in everything we accomplish. While we will forever be grateful for their immediate action, I am also amazed by what happened afterward. After being rescued and getting my legs under me and realizing my daughter was there, I looked around stunned, and what I saw were some of the brightest smiles I could ever see. It brought peace and calm. When I made it into the ambulance, the weight of things really came over me, especially looking at my daughter, physically fine, but still on a stretcher, and seeing the man who broke the glass to get us out, Desmond, come into the ambulance shivering with blood coming from his hands. Shame and regret set in dramatically. What helped keep me focused on the moment and trying to support my daughter instead of giving in to the shame and regret were those smiles and the fact that everyone was happy to see us. No one showed any anger or frustration. The next day, I reached out hoping to arrange an opportunity to meet with the rescue team, and we got in touch and set up a meeting. We wanted to say thank you, and I wanted to apologize. I think just about everyone here can imagine a time when you knew you had to apologize. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, but you do it. And so I went in with trepidation, but said my apologies. But when I met them, I did apologize, but to a man, they all said that they were happy to do it. Seeing us come out made it all worth it, and I shouldn't beat myself up. The only thing that was asked is to be willing to tell my story and encourage others to turn around and don't drown. We picture rescue teams as running into burning buildings, and in our case, dangerous waters, and saving people and pets from them. And that is an accurate representation. In addition to that, I realize in many cases they are not just saving people from the elements, they are saving them from mistakes. They saved me and my innocent daughter from my lack of caution and judgment. And when visited, we were told that there were about 40 or 50 calls that they went out during this storm. And the vast majority were not like ours, but were cars stalled out in the water, and they had to go out and help the people in them make it to safe ground. I couldn't help but think how frustrating that must be, and how tempting it has to be to lecture people, and possibly even berate them, especially if they're doing it 30 or so times. And especially in our case, where there was that heightened emotion, where lives were on the line. But there was none of that. Nothing but support. It made me think of the actions of the Good Shepherd and the lost sheep. Even when we stray from what we are supposed to do, the Good Shepherd will recognize that the sheep who are on the right path do not need him at that moment, and will go out and give every effort to the one who mistakenly wandered. When the sheep is found, the Good Shepherd does not yell or strike the sheep. It picks it up, carries it home, and calls others to rejoice. These men have the spirit of the Good Shepherd in them, I have no doubt about that, and they allow it to guide them and act within it. And on behalf of myself, my daughter, my wife, and my sons, I cannot thank them enough, and I am beyond grateful, and I want to commend them and rejoice. Thank you.
Just to give you a little brief of what our people experienced. They, on Central Valley Road, just off of 231, they got a call for a car in the water. When they arrived on the scene, they immediately started unloading their equipment, trying to don their swiftwater outfits, the dry suits, and as they watched the car floating, all of a sudden the car went under the water. And at that point, they knew they had to act. They grabbed their helmets, their life jackets, and they took off in the water. And when they crossed the water, the current actually carried them down into a embankment. And if it hadn't been for a hickory tree sitting there, it would have carried them on down the river. That's the only thing that stopped them. They were completely underwater. So they got on the scene. This is what they experienced, and they went into action. And they're on a cold, dark, pitch black night in the country around all this water, and you can hear it roaring. And they took off into that water, and I promise you, they were scared to death. And it reminds me of a famous quote by John Wayne saying, "Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway." And that's what these guys did. They saddled up and they went anyway. And I promise you, they were scared because they didn't know the outcome. They made it to the car. Desmond and Bob made it to the car, and they took a tool with them. They knocked the back glass out. And I think from all the pressure and the water rushing in the car, it just kind of popped them to the top of the water, and they pulled them out. Mr. Alexis told me that they were in the back of the kind of a station wagon, up at the very top, just trying to gain all the air they could because it was filling up fast. But these guys went in and broke out the glass. They popped them up and retrieved them, and of course then took them back to the truck and started trying to wrap them in blankets and keep them as warm as possible. To say that I'm proud of these young men is an understatement. And so I want to honor them tonight by putting the Medal of Valor on their jackets. Lieutenant Mulder was also part of that cave rescue.
Lance, is your wife out there? Oh, why don't you tell her to come on up here, because she needs to be recognized, because these guys saved her daughter. Huh? Oh, gotcha. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I was going to ask her to come up and join you, but do have a ramp over here if she'd like to come up. Chris will help bring her up here. I'd just like to have the whole family up here, because I think that these guys, from their heroic work, saved the whole family. Chief, what we'd like to do is we'd like to get our PIO, our Public Information Officer, if we could get the family up here in the front and
also Melody can go in there and
surround. If y'all come on up here in the front at the well and let our Swiftwater Rescue Squad surround you, so we can get a picture, and we're gonna show the people that I know these guys are your heroes, but they're also Rutherford County's heroes. And we appreciate everything you do, gentlemen. So, Ashley, how you want to come right up front, right here? Why don't you?
Bit outside later.
Okay, all right, that'd be good. All right, so if you can follow her outside, and they're going to take a picture out by the fire engine.
One more thing I'd like to say is I'm not a hero, these guys are, and I'm just fortunate enough to be able to lead these guys.
Absolutely.
And one small comment I want to make, we got a proclamation of appreciation from Mount Juliet Tennessee during the tornadoes of 2020, back in March last year. Our special operations team responded over there, and our structural collapse team was able to retrieve some of the citizens who perished in some of the collapses over there. So I just want to mention that and recognize these guys for the great work they continue to do. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Harris, you're recognized. Oh, you're just waving? Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Thank you for sharing your story with us. It's important to know that we've got where our taxpayers go, where their money goes, and what it does, and you know, we're so proud of them for you all are still here to share that story. Next, we have second item on public comments. We have Mr. Philip Hearn on a rezoning issue. Mr. Hearn, is he here? I believe he's coming forward. I see you in the back. Mr. Hearn, you're recognized.
My name's Philip Hearn. I'm here speaking on a matter that Rod has helped me with. I guess, well, Steve Irvin started with it. Rod ended up with it. The property at Old Nashville Highway come up for rezoning in 2019. Made that rezoning into from neighborhood to commercial property. I objected to it. I didn't want it to happen. I figured it probably would, but I got this information in the mail here, and that's really my topic this evening. I appreciate the few minutes I get, but my understanding is the people that live within 500 feet of this project that's getting rezoned has the right to get one of these in the mail. And it's a good thing. They ask for our information. They ask for our thoughts about it, traffic, drainage, or anything like that we might want to say about it that's happening in our community. It's a good thing. But what I couldn't understand was it's just 500 feet. Just out of that 500 feet, I think there may have been 13 people that actually got one of these in the mail to notify them to what's getting ready to happen. Just past that 500 feet, there's probably a 200 family neighborhood there, and they have no idea of what's happening, what somebody's wanting to do with that property, but it's going to impact them in the long term somehow, whether it's just a simple entrance to their neighborhood or just up and down the chaotic Old Nashville Highway sometimes. But it impacts them, but they don't get word of this. They are relying, or the Planning Commission is relying on these folks to get their information from a little 18 by 18 plastic sign that's out in a deep ditch, or has been blown over and they don't see it. But that 200 plus family is supposed to get their information from that and call if they see it. So they don't see it. You might get 2 people up here that actually get the information and want to talk about it. That doesn't seem right to me. I mean, if you've got that many in the area, just because they're out of that 500-foot reach, which that's nothing. And I've actually been on both sides of this, because just down the road from me, where I was just probably around 200 feet out of that 500 feet of getting this information, I wasn't able to go and help the people that are in my community that had objections to these other commercial properties that have already come into the community. And I heard that through a lady, a nice lady. I just actually met her, and she's passed away now. Her name was Bo Washington. I went down and talked to her and asked her to come up here and talk to me with me and let her concerns know. But first thing she asked me, she said, "Where in the world were you when I needed you last month when they brought this other company into our community?" And first thing she said, "Well, you just didn't get the notice. You just weren't close enough to get it." And this doesn't sound right to me. So this is what my main argument is tonight about this. Something I think could be done to make this more transparent, make the people that are going to be impacted with it take this area, this 500 feet, and explode it a little bit more so that you can get a good idea of what's happening in our community, and you don't have to just be able to push that commercial property right on into us, especially when we have the traffic as well as the drainage issues that we have. I think there's probably a couple, one or two on this committee that know of the drainage issues that we have in our community. The other point that I want to make is that when this zoning appeals or the regional planning department does reach a decision to make and approve that commercial property, that property is able to come in. They go through all of their things that they're supposed to do. They make that property look nice. They might put a tree out there, a flower or something, to get it passed and get it going. Then 6 years later, they decide to sell. Things go down big time. It affects the community. The next person doesn't even have to look at y'all, doesn't have to say anything to you or anything. They're free to do what they want to do, bring whatever they want to do in, and do as they need to, because they don't have to go through y'all. You don't have to approve anything for them. So what my point is we have to be careful when somebody say something.
Yes, sir. Time.
What?
Yes, sir. We have a 3-minute limitation. I'm sorry, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Hearn. I think we got the message. We'll make sure that our planning commission, they were here and they can go back and watch the tape and we have members also on this board. Thank you, sir, for your comments tonight. We're about 1 minute away from our public hearing. If you think you got something else to say for another minute, I'll let you come back up and say that, Mr. Hearn. Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Without objection, I'll go ahead and call the public hearing into order. We do have one rezoning request as Mr. DeMasi makes his way. You got 3? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay. So, Mr. DeMasi, let's wait just a few more seconds. You know how to dance? We don't want to see you dance, okay? Yeah, I think it might be entertaining, right?
Oh, it'd be entertaining.
Yes, sir.
There's no doubt about that.
All right, I think we're close enough to go ahead. Mr. DeMasi, you're recognized for our public hearing.
Yes, Mayor Ketchum, thank you, and good evening, Mayor and members of the Commission. As stated, we do have 3 public hearings for your consideration tonight. The first is for property located along Franklin Road. This is by Mr. Jim Heisen. The existing zoning is a planned unit development and also residential medium density. The proposed zoning, essentially, it all boils down to a PUD amendment, but there's a couple little other tweaks to this that I'll talk about as I go through the presentation. The original plan development request for this property, which is called Saddlewood, was approved by the Board of Commissioners back in April of 2019. The plan included 133 total units, 61 were single-family detached, and 72 were attached units and 4-unit structures. Preliminary plan approval was granted for the detached units at the Planning Commission's April 27, 2000 meeting, followed with a site plan approval for the townhomes in June 22nd of 2020. The Board of Commissioners, as you recall, just November of last year recently approved an age-restricted community to the west of the subject property, which is the Burgess Farm. The applicant reevaluated their original PUD after that particular application was approved and decided to offer a complementary development to what was being proposed on the Burgess Farm. Adjacent property to the east, which is 6577 Franklin Road, has also been incorporated into the design of the Saddlewood development. So as well as this being a PUD amendment, they're also adding some property to the PUD, which is why a portion of the property has to be rezoned from RM to PUD. The applicant is proposing to construct an age-targeted development, which is a little bit different than an age-restricted. They're going to tailor it toward the 55 and up community, but not necessarily restrict it to them. As I stated before, the original development was 133 units. They're proposing now 124 villas on the property, which is a reduction of 9 units from the original planned development. There will be a total of 31 4-unit buildings, with each villa being sold as a zero lot line property. Each would have a two-car attached garage, sidewalks on both sides of streets, and the streets would be private in this development. Minimum size of the units is 1,600 square feet. I will call your attention to the pattern book for this item on your iPads, as well as an overall concept that you'll see on there. The map in the pattern book was a little blurry, so I had the other one uploaded, so that it would be a little easier for you to see. Neighborhood meeting was held virtually on January 7th as required by our zoning ordinance. A synopsis was included in that as well. Consistent with the previous approval, there are 2 access points proposed along Franklin Road. You have the main entrance, which aligns with Royal Glen Boulevard across Franklin Road, and the second was a gated access only on the eastern side of the site. This is for emergency access and would also be Yelp censored activated in the event of an emergency. Several concerns were brought up during the neighborhood meeting as well as the Planning Commission meeting regarding parking on the internal streets, available parking for residents and guests. The applicant is providing satellite parking areas around the development for guests to come in. Again, each unit does have a 2-car garage as well as parking in the driveway as well. There was also some concerns about traffic improvements on Franklin Road. We discussed at that time the traffic improvements that were originally approved as part of the Saddlewood development included turn lanes into the development. That's part of this application as well. Those turn lanes are still part of the design. Those are not going away. Drainage issues were also discussed. The applicant has stated that their discharge was about 70% of what is allowed under county and state regulations. Of course, if this is approved, they are going to have to submit site plans, plats, and everything, and the Planning Commission will get a chance to look at those particular plans, and our engineering staff will also go over those with a very fine-tooth comb. A member of the development team did explain the difference between age-targeted and age-restricted, which I explained a little bit earlier. There were also some questions about the owner versus renter-occupied units. Following questions and discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval by a unanimous vote. So the applicant is present, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Tomasi from the Commissioners? Any questions? And I call Rutherford County Commission meeting into recess to hold a public hearing on this request. The public hearing is now in session. Anyone desiring to speak for or against this issue, if you would, please come forward. State your name and address, and if you are for or against the proposed request. Seeing no one coming forward or over the internet, I declare the public hearing closed and Rutherford County Board of Commissioners back into session. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is one of the second large developments of Mr. Hyson, and he does a really great job, quality work, and really appreciate the dedication that he has to the area. My motion is to approve with conditions and staff comments.
Have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Have a second from Chairman Pro Tem Phillips. Any further questions or discussion? Without objection, Madam Clerk, please. Oh, Commissioner Cook, you're recognized.
Thank you. Will the roads be built before they start building houses?
It's kind of a simultaneous thing. They'll be happening roughly about the same time. Yes, ma'am.
We have 1,500 houses going in Laverne, Smyrna area, and the roads are not built. And there's a lot of people opposing this. And I've noticed Davidson County builds their roads before they start their subdivisions. And I'd like for our planning to look into having the roads before the subdivision comes in.
Yes, ma'am. No, and then just, but again, to answer your question, for this particular development, again, the traffic improvements will be built as part of the development. So, yes.
But we're going to have a big problem with schools in the north end of the county, too.
Yes, ma'am.
Any further discussion or questions? Without objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Piercy.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Rather.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner P.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Buchanan.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cush.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Reed.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gurley.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Blair.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Allen.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Harris.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Dodd.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Votes yes. Commissioner McAdoo. Votes yes. Commissioner Key.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gooch.
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Sereno.
Yes.
Votes yes. 21 yes. Motion passes.
Motion passes. Next.
Yes, thank you. Our next rezoning request is by Murfreesboro Pool Contractors. This is located along Old Nashville Highway. The property as a whole is zoned two different ways: commercial neighborhood and then commercial general, excuse me. What the applicant is asking for is a portion of that to be, of the commercial neighborhood area to be rezoned. They were asking for commercial general, but the Planning Commission did recommend commercial services, and I'll go into a little more detail about that. The subject property, as I stated, was rezoned by the Board of Commissioners back in June of 2019. The original request was actually for a portion of the property to be zoned commercial neighborhood, which the frontage is, but the remaining of the property be zoned light industrial. However, the Planning Commission at that time recommended the commercial general zoning instead of light industrial, so that's why you have it today before you the way that it is. The current applicant is proposing to rezone approximately 3 acres of the commercial neighborhood portion as it fronts along Old Nashville Highway. Again, he was asking for a CG, but the Planning Commission did recommend commercial services in order to construct. Well, in the back where that's commercial general zone, he doesn't have to do this. He's going to put his pool, contracting business, his warehouse and storage area. It was clarified at the Planning Commission's March 8th meeting that the purpose for the rezoning on the frontage was allow the applicant some more flexibility along Old Nashville Highway. He'd like to create an opportunity for business mini warehouses, similar to what you see on, there's a development on North Thompson Lane in the city of Murfreesboro, right across from the Greenway trailhead in that area. He's looking to do something like that. Commercial neighborhood would not allow for that, but commercial services does. The access would continue to be from Old Nashville Highway. Any new or modified ingress or egress points would have to be approved by the Rutherford County Highway Department. There is a concept plan which does show parking and storage area, which is on your iPads. The zoning ordinance does require a hard dustless surface for parking lots, but areas primarily used for storage can have a gravel base. Of course, if this would be approved, a site plan would have to be submitted to our office and for Planning Commission approval, which would we could verify at that time that these particular items meet county requirements. Commercially zoned properties are also required to install a Type 2 buffer adjacent to any residential zoned properties. Existing plantings can be used, but again, a landscape plan would be submitted to staff, and we would be able to bring that through the Planning Commission as well, and of course adherence to our performance standards. Concerns raised during the public hearing included traffic safety along Old Nashville Highway, our public notice protocols, drainage, and also zoning enforcement. The applicant was present, and I believe he's on a line today to speak to some of those concerns. The Planning Commission did ask the applicant about the amount of traffic they would produce per day for their pool business, and they said about 6 to 10 times per day, and that would be, again, the back portion of the lot. Traffic may vary on the potential development along the frontage of Old Nashville Highway, but I want to make sure that everybody understands, even if this is approved and a site plan is submitted, we still have the ability as staff to require a traffic study if we feel that the uses being proposed are going to create some sort of a traffic hazard along Old Nashville Highway. So our zoning ordinance does allow that ability for us. We did have some further discussion about the differences between commercial services and commercial general zoning and how they compare to the commercial neighborhood zone. Following discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend commercial services zoning instead of CG by a unanimous vote. So any motion today, if you could clarify that that you were going for the same classification that was recommended by the Planning Commission for clarity. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
That being said, any questions for Mr. Damasi from the Commission? Any questions? Seeing none, I call the Rutherford County Commission meeting into recess to hold a public hearing on this request. The public hearing is now in session. Anyone desiring to speak for or against the issue, if you would, please come forward. State your name, your address, if you're for or against the proposed request. Seeing none or hearing none?
Well, I'm on the line.
Yes, sir.
Didn't know what to say or when to say it.
Okay. Well, you're recognized. If you would, please give your name and your address. And if you're for or
this is Matt Ward. My address is 1019 East Main in Murfreesboro, but I also own property across the street from this proposal at 5105 Old Nashville Highway,
yes,
which is on the corner of Reynolds Drive and Old Nashville Highway. My concern is that when you rezone it for one purpose, or supposedly for one purpose, in this case sounds like a pool company, that rezones it for anything that fits that category, and there's no guarantee that it will be as innocuous as a pool company at all times, or even as soon as he gets that zoning, he can sell the property and somebody else can put something totally different in there, and that's what I'm concerned about.
Okay, so I would assume that you're against.
I am against it
okay.
Because of that reason, yes.
Yes, sir. Okay. Haven't been in the real estate business. I'm sure you're aware of what that might do to the property value, so I totally understand, Mr. Ward. Are there any others that would like to speak for or against?
Mayor Ketron, can I speak?
I'm sorry?
I'm on Zoom.
Yes, sir.
It's Clyde.
Can you identify yourself, give your name, address, and if you're
yes,
for
sir,
or against?
It's Clyde Roundy from Huddleston Steel Engineering.
Yes, sir.
And I'm representing the client, Mr. Joel Pontinel, who's the owner of the pool company. And as far as the concerns that have been expressed since we've started this process, we had a neighborhood meeting on another zoning area adjacent to this property, and a lot of it's kind of a little bit of I guess a little holdover from that being basically zone commercial in the first place. So we're kind of working against that, but I do want that person who just called in to understand some of the limitations that property has. We have done a pretty extensive study. Our client has gone through a very detailed soils analysis, and his company will be on the rear portion of the property, which is already zoned to CG, which is consistent. He wouldn't have to go through any process in order to have the pool company there. However, he has some property on the front that he would like to develop, as Doug said, with the mini warehouse. And these are basically have an office on the front with an access door on the rear, and they're about 1,200 square feet. So they're really for, small, like an air conditioning company, or guys that run their kind of shop that need a little storage. And so from a development standpoint, there's limited soils. So I think, unfortunately, in that area, because of the soils, there's a lot more fear about what could happen there from an overall immense development. But the fact of the matter is we can probably only develop maybe 50% of the property in order to respectfully have soils to support what our client would like to do. So because I was part of the other rezoning requests, and we are going to come back on an adjacent piece of property with a planned development for the purpose that the neighbors really want to have some assurance long-term, what could happen across from them. But in this case, the primary driver is the pool company. He just has an additional 3 to 4 acres that he would love to see as investment property in the future. He's definitely committed to building those units if he can get approved. And we do have enough soils to support, a few of those buildings. We're down to about 3, and the buildings are about 60 by 120. And so it is not a major development that he's proposing on the front portion, and that's driven by soil. So I just want to make sure that neighbor understands that it's not, going to be one big hardscape, development because of limitations that we have out there with septic. Thank you.
So, Mr. Roundtree, I assume since you're representing the other side, you're in favor of, right?
Definitely in favor of it. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Roundtree. Are there others to speak for or against? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing now closed and back in session. Is there a motion? Commissioner Key, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, let me commend Mr. Hearn, if he's still here. Even if he's not, I'd like to commend him. He's been a great voice in that area, and he's called me numerous times to share complaints, but to share, to be inquisitive as well. I do think that's a concern, and I'll look into it more about the distance for notification. I'd like to know more about it, and Mr. Hearn, I'll get back to you with some history on that. I've met with Mr. Roundtree and with the client that for this proposed location, and I think due diligence has been done. I think we're going to have an attractive neighbor there. So for these reasons, I move that we accept this.
Yes, sir. We have a motion and a second from Commissioner Gooch. Any further discussion? Comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Vote yes. Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Vote yes. 21 yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, Mr. Damasi.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Our final public hearing tonight is for property along Richland-Richardson Road. The existing zoning is residential low density, RL. Proposed zoning is planned unit development for a residential subdivision for approximately 81 acres. The applicant plans to construct 171 single-family detached units on the subject property. The property could accommodate a maximum of 243 single-family units under the current RL zoning, and this is because water lines can support hydrants, and the development is proposed to be served by a step system. So the gross density calculation that I'm talking to you here does not, however, consider easements, rights-of-way, wetland soils, step areas, etc. So a more realistic density would probably be closer to about 150. Minimum lot size for this development is proposed to be 6,500 square feet, typical lot size being a little over 6,700 square feet. Minimum lot width will be 56 feet at the right-of-way line. The minimum house size is about 1,400 square feet, with each home having a minimum of 3 bedrooms and a 2-car front entry garage. Elevations are shown to be of vinyl construction. A homeowners association would maintain all common areas. There is a pattern book on your iPads for this development as well, so I will point that to you for additional information on that. Staff has passed along concerns to the applicant regarding issues we've seen with the approval of smaller lot PUDs. Many of the lots that we've seen in the past do not have much of a usable backyard after factoring in the building setback and any drainage easements. So staff asked the applicant to create typical lot schematics to show the amount of usable area outside of the drainage and utility easements. What they presented and what we found that we liked, they actually have 2 different products in their proposal that you can see in the pattern book. They've also increased their rear setbacks, so the building envelope isn't quite as large, but there's more area back there in the backyard to give a more usable backyard, so we were very happy to see that. All proposed streets will be public. Development will have 1 direct access onto Richland-Richardson Road and also a proposed connection to the Thompson Downs subdivision, which is immediately to the north of this property. There's also 2 stub-outs proposed to the west and south of the subject property for any future development that may occur on those tracks. A traffic study has been submitted with their application. Part of what this application is proposing is for the developer to add turn lanes from Richland-Richardson Road into this development, and also reconstructing the road in front of the development to kind of smooth out the curve that's in that area. And I have included those traffic study recommendations in the report. Residential PUDs are not generally required to provide any buffering adjacent to residentially zoned properties, but they are required to provide a minimum of 10% open space, with half of that being defined as usable open space according to our ordinance. This pattern book does show approximately 17 acres of open space, with 7 acres of that being usable, which this would meet our requirements, and performance standards will not apply since this is a residential development. We did explain to the Planning Commission what I mentioned a little earlier, that the lots had been revised to provide additional areas in the rear yards. There was also some questions from the Planning Commission on the traffic improvements, parking on the streets, and parking spaces per residential unit. There was an adjacent resident who did speak, requesting some screening between his house and the proposed development. The applicant did state that they'd be more than willing to do that. He also asked about guidance on any potential damage from blasting, and this would be something that would be handled through the State Fire Marshal's office, so we answered that at the meeting as well. After further discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval, again by a unanimous vote. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. And the applicant is present.
Doug, on the road improvements, we're talking about straightening it. Is there any width added to that road?
They would build it to a county road spec at that point, yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yes, sir.
It brought up to county standards because the road's under spec now.
Right. For the frontage, you know, they'd have to dedicate their necessary right-of-way and then build it to county spec. Yes, sir.
Are there other questions for Mr. DeMasi from the Commission? Seeing none, we'll call the Rutherford County Commission meeting into recess to hold a public hearing on this request. The public hearing is now in session. Anyone desiring to speak for or against the issue, if you would please come forward. State your name, address, and if you're for or against the proposed request. Seeing or hearing none coming forward, I declare the public hearing closed of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners, and we are back in session. Is there a motion?
Yes, there is. I want to make a motion to approve with the conditions agreed upon. And while I'm saying that, I also want to commend Commissioner Dodd, who's involved with this, and I want to make a quick explanation on that. He did development the right way, in my opinion. First of all, he called me and gave me a heads up a long time before, asked me if there were any special concerns, and the main thing was, of course, getting with the citizens in that area and what their concerns was. I also want to commend our road superintendent, Greg Brooks, who also had called me prior to this happening because we've got another development over there too, and urging me to talk to the developers about widening the road there, which will help all the citizens on the road, and also to put a turn lane in there. But I want to thank both those gentlemen for that.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Have a second. Commissioner Piercy. Commissioner Rutherford. Does anybody want to declare Rule 10?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I am involved with this project, and not only will I declare Rule 10, I will be abstaining.
Thank you, sir. Other comments or questions? Seeing none. Call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Abstain.
Abstain. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Vote yes. Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Vote yes. 20 yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and thank you, Mr. DeMasi. Members, that's going to take us back on your agenda to item G, elections and confirmations. I'd like to call on Commissioner Reed. If you would please come forward. And you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Elections and confirmations, item 1. Commissioners, you have received by SharePoint a listing of notaries. They are also on your iPad. Mr. Chairman, I move to confirm the election of these individuals as Rutherford County notaries.
Have a motion. Is there a second? Second. By Commissioner Sereno. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon? Yes. Vote yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
As a candidate for the notary, I must abstain.
Abstains. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Vote yes. Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Vote yes. 20 yes. Motion passes.
Motion passes, Mr. Chairman and members. Without objection, after the commissioner or the chairman reads to us, instead of having to call the roll on all three, or basically for the same item, if we could, without objection, collectively vote and call the roll on all three, going on to the Redistricting Committee. Is there objection? Chairman, you can announce names.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, before we get into that, I just need to ask a real quick question. There were 2 people who were up for personal security bondsmen to be elected. Are they included in those notaries? or do they have to be elected separately? I'm just asking. This is the first time I've ever noticed that.
Great. You want to tell them, Madam Clerk?
Yes, they're included on that list.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our attorney didn't know that, so you helped him out tonight. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, you're recognized.
All right. Those being steering wishes to confirm Commissioner Wayne Blair for Redistricting Committee. Steering would like to confirm Commissioner Joe Gurley for Redistricting Committee. And steering wishes to confirm John Marshall to Redistricting Committee.
We have 2 commissioners and 1 citizen at large. You've heard all 3. You made the motion. Is there a second? You have a second. Any questions or objections? Second on Commissioner Harris, Chairman Harris. Any objection? Call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gurley?
I abstain.
Abstain. Commissioner Blair?
Abstain.
Abstain. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Votes yes. Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Votes yes. 19 yes, 2 abstain. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Commissioners have received a notification from Administrator of Elections, Alan Farley, that the Rutherford County Election Commission has selected the following people. The Republican Election Commissioner will be Ransom Jones, and the Democrat Election Commissioner will be Carolyn Cox. These individuals will be also serving on the Redistricting Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to our commissioners. Mr. Marshall, I believe you're here in the audience. I know you'll serve as well. And once we figure out what our census is, Washington is still holding those numbers, and once we get those, we'll start the laborious task every 10 years of redrawing the lines. So I know you'll help us get through this process so we can figure out who votes for who for another 10 years. So thank you very much. All right, members, that moves us to item H, resolution for approval of the consent agenda. Call on Chairman Pro Tem Phillips. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor Ketron. I've reviewed the consent agenda. I find those items appropriate to be on the agenda, and without objection, I move that the consent agenda be adopted as presented.
So I have a motion for adoption as presented.
Second.
Second, Commissioner P. and others. Any objection? Any questions?
Mayor Ketron, I'm going to have to declare Rule 10 on that.
Commissioner Piercy declares Rule 10. Any others? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Abstain.
Abstain. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Yes. Vote yes. Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Vote yes. 20 yes, 1 abstain. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have item K, reports from standing committees. First up is Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee. Chairman P. You'll come forward and you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor Ketron. We only have 4 items this evening, so maybe they'll go pretty smooth. First item are for general fund budget amendments. Item K1A, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the general fund be amended as follows. And this first one is for general sessions, and it's for 2 part-time employees to cover an employee who is out on FEMLA. Increased expenditures, part-time personnel, $9,000, Social Security, $560, Medicare, $130, and a decrease in unassigned fund balance of $9,690. Next is other public health and welfare, and this is to pay for unexpected or over our budget amount for autopsies. Increased expenditures for other services, $155,000, a decrease in unassigned fund balance of $155,000. Last is employee benefits. This is for the retirees' fringe benefits. There'll be a decrease in unassigned fund balance of $52,000 and an increase in expenditures of other fringe benefits of $52,000. Resolved this 15th day of April 2021. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any further questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a note. My wife is a retiree. Although I'm not required to abstain, I will abstain on this vote.
Okay. Any further questions? Concerns? Seeing none, please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner P?
Abstain.
Abstain. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
As a retiree, abstain.
Abstain. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Vote yes. Commissioner Key? Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Vote yes. 18 yes, 2 abstain. Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, our next item is K1B, and this has to do with the Highway Fund. This actually had passed with the Highway Commission and forwarded to us. And what this has to do is the monies that they are spending to improve the roads around the Plainview School and associated road work. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the Highway Fund be amended as follows. Increase expenditures for engineering services, $45,000. Other contingencies, $100,000. Services for asphalt, $1 million, crushed for $236,100, and that's stone. General construction materials, $50,000. Construction materials, pipe, $50,000. Other, $17,900. Supplies and materials, bridge construction, $170,000. Right-of-way acquisitions, $240,000. And a decrease in their assigned fund balance of $1,909,000. Resolved this 15th day of April, 2021. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
We have a motion. We have a second. Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Piercy. Any questions?
I have one, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. You recognize.
This $2 million is part of the, in my mind, it's part of the cost of constructing that school. Is this reported in our school report that my question or concern, we wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for the school. Shouldn't it be part of the project? Shouldn't it be included in the cost of the project? Shouldn't it be included in the report that Health and Ed gets every month on the progress of those schools that are under construction? Should it not be reported to Health and Ed along with the other school projects that are on board? And I'm just thinking that it should be.
Ms. Nolan.
We can add it in. Typically what is reported is what is accounted for in that fund. And in the capital projects report that you get from Ms. Jolly, it's everything that is in Fund 189, which is typically bond money, projects that has been funded with bond money. I send reports out that's out of Fund 171, which is general capital projects. There's one that's at the end of the year it's by fund. I understand what you're saying, and for posterity, I can have Ms. Jolly just add a note so it will be in the reports that cost of the road will be added and where it came from. I mean, we generate the report. We certainly can add it in.
Commissioner Phillips.
We don't have the highway department funding the road, so
Commissioner Phillips, if it hadn't been for our highway superintendent, Mr. Greg Brooks, stepping up and having the money in his reserve to pay for this, and they would have bid that out, it would have been probably 2 or 3 times what we've been able to get it for with him doing this. But I see and feel exactly where you are and where we probably, this commission needs to be in the future, that those numbers for road improvements, just as Commissioner Cook was talking about earlier, then when we get ready to build a school, all the infrastructure leading to that location probably needs to be included in that school process. That's the way I think. And you know, it shouldn't be on the burden. They build the school and then they come to us and we have to provide the infrastructure. It should be in a total package. That's where I'd like to see us go in the future. I know we did that back in the 90s when we built Stewartsboro on the Old Nashville Highway, built a school, and then we had to come back and widen the road and put in turn lanes because they didn't even have sidewalks for the kids. I remember there was a commissioner down there. The kids were having to walk in a ditch to keep from getting hit by a car on the Old Nashville Highway because there wasn't proper infrastructure leading to the school. Commissioner Allen.
Thank you. I completely agree with Commissioner Phillips on the reason for the road funding. My question is, and it could be because it's a capital project, this may not be relevant. I just want to make sure that we don't report it in such a way that it's counted as part of maintenance of effort.
It would not be.
Other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Chairman. And you may, Lisa and Rhonda may correct me, but also if it's part of the bond in certain schools that we build, we share 10% with the city. So I don't want to obfuscate that or not do our fair share with the city. But strategically, we need to be careful that we are not borrowing from a certain bucket and our costs go up 10%.
Other comments, questions?
Just one particular follow-up. I don't disagree with anything anybody said, but we've been talking for the last half a dozen years about school projects, and this is part of that project. And that's the reason that I'd like for that process to go. And Superintendent Brooks has done a wonderful job in trying to give us information as to what that road construction part of that project is going to be, and I appreciate that. But once again, this type of thing, we need to know up front, and that's what this is all about. Don't get me wrong, I agree with all that, but that's what this is all about, is that building that school, building the infrastructure to get to that school is part of that project. And I think that ought to be reported to the Health and Ed just like it is to Public Works or anyone else. It needs to be on that list. This commissioner would like to see it on that list.
We'll make notes. You know, we're accountants, and we tick and tie, we make sure all the balance is total to cash in the fund. So that's why that is. But
Superintendent
can add it.
Superintendent Brooks told me last month, Commissioner Phillips, don't come back on the next school project because his bucket's kind of empty, and he won't have the resources to do what he's done on this one. So we have to commend him for doing that. Chairman P.
Are we ready to vote?
We're ready to vote? Okay. No other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Vote yes. Commissioner Key? Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Vote yes. 20 yes, motion passes.
Okay, our next item is item K1C, which is educational building program, since we were talking about schools. Whereas there is a need to plan for and construct schools due to growth in the area, and whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education has anticipated the future needs of the school system, and whereas the Rutherford County Board of Education desires to secure additional funding for the following projects with a portion of the funding approved in March of 2021. Now, I'm going to read the three projects. You've got the breakdown in front of you, but I'm only going to read off the totals. The three projects are Rockvale Middle School Addition, Rockvale Elementary School Annex, Smyrna Middle School Annex renovation. And in March, we funded a total of $1,079,250. Here in April, they're asking to fund $30,315,750 for a total funding of $31,395,000. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the additional funding for the project as detailed herein be authorized from a future bond issue. Resolved this 15th day of April 2021. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none. Call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Vote yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Building on the schools instead of building new ones is a great idea, yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Votes yes. Commissioner Key? Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Votes yes. 20 yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, the last item, item K1D, has to do with the Domestic Violence Stop Grant Amendment and related general fund budget amendments. Basically, the state has offered us another $10,000 on top of the grant that we've got. There's a bit of matching, and that'll be coming out in the resolution. Whereas Rutherford County previously entered into a contract with the Tennessee Office of Criminal Justice Programs in April of 2018 to administer federal grant funds for the improvement of the criminal justice system as required by the Stop Violence Against Women grant program. And whereas the state of Tennessee has offered an amendment to the original contract to fund an additional $10,000 and require a match of $3,333 for the beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021. And whereas the amendment will be used for database upgrades, printers, iPads, a computer, and office supplies, therefore be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the county mayor and all other appropriate officials of Rutherford County, Tennessee be and are hereby authorized to execute for and on behalf of Rutherford County the amendment to the contract to fund an additional $10,000 and require a match of $3,333 for the year ending July 1st, 2020 and ending June 30th, 2021. And the general fund be amended as follows: to recognize the program revenues and to appropriate said proceeds. Increase revenues, direct federal revenues, $10,000. Increase in expenditures, office supplies, $2,000. Data processing equipment, $6,333. Office equipment, $5,000. And a decrease in fund balance, unassigned fund balance of $3,333. Resolved this 15th day of April, 2021. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion. Chairman McAdoo on the second. Any questions? Seeing none, call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Votes yes. Commissioner Key? Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Votes yes. 20 yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mayor, did you want to do that one? That budget amendment that I did for you. Oh. Since it's budget.
Before we finish that, I was talking to Ms. Nolan. There was an issue. I was going to bring this up in Public Works because it's a budget issue. members, let me share with you this. I'm not sure how this got missed, but at Public Works, at the last Public Works meeting, helped me, Chairman Cush, but I received a phone call from Mike Hughes, our county engineer. Mr. Hughes, for whatever, he was driving by and just happened to think about it. Well, for the first time in, I don't know, 12, 15 years, the Alley 400, first race in 14, 15 years, I don't know, at the Nashville Speedway is going to be conducted in June, okay? And he said, Mayor, we don't own the property where the Speedway is. For those folks that remember this, the Speedway is actually in Wilson County, but the exit and the red light, one of 4 or 5 that we, the county, own, is ours. And there's going to be a lot of traffic coming to this second week of June, maybe, whenever the race is, for you NASCAR driver fans. So he said that light has been flashing for the last 14, 15 years, and no maintenance has been done on it. You may want to get it checked out, because I'm glad he caught it. It was a good catch. So the company that services our equipment on our lights is S&W Contracting here in Rutherford County. It came before Public Works the other night, Mr. Chairman. There were 2 options presented. One option, Mr. Scott Williamson, the project manager, went out. They checked out the light, the cameras, etc. He sent us 2 bids. First option was for $18,000 to replace the existing 2-camera video detection system with new video detection cameras. These cameras are outdoor cameras. He said they normally last about 10 years, but since they haven't been operating, nobody's done any maintenance on them. They're the ones that you have on a red light. I learned something. I knew about the pressure tape, you know, where they make the cut, and the tires go on it, and it triggers the light to turn. The others are cameras that are motion detected cameras that switches the light based on the traffic. So that is $18,000. Option 2 is to replace the video camera systems, but upgrade the signal to incandescent lamps, what is in there now, to LED lights. To go to the LED lights to include the video cameras is $23,000. So a difference of the 18 versus the 23,000. The motion was made, I believe, members of Public Works, and to send it on with 18 to finance or to the full commission, but in the meantime to check to see what the difference was other than the $5,000. I did call Mr. Williamson. If they install the LED lights, there's a 5-year warranty on the lights and 6 months labor. He did say that those lights were working the day that he went out there, but that's not to say they started operating the old incandescent lights. They started operating, he said, you may blow 1, 2, or 4 or 5. I said, so what do you charge per service call? His service call is somewhere between $1,000, depending on how long it takes them, between $1,000 and $1,200 to go out on each time they go out. So you could have one light go out. These are 10 or 14-year-old lights. I don't know. You could have one go out today and 2 go out tomorrow, or vice versa. So that was a request that the committee tasked me with. I report back to you, the full commission. The motion was to send it as a favorable recommendation on the 18, but it's still up for discussion. So I'll open it up for discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It would seem to me that by going to LED lights like we have at schools and other public buildings and so on, that over a longer period of time, unless the racetrack's going away right after this race, that we would also save electricity.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to tell you from past experience, I don't think it's going to go away. Here's the issue also in mind that people just need to consider, and this is not 100% part of what you're going to vote on tonight, but you also got to consider the expensive overtime, because the parking lot is also in the county, and the sheriff's office is going to have to take care of that parking lot, not the racetrack, but it falls back on Rutherford County to take care of the traffic control in the parking lot. And you're talking about probably 6 or 7 officers out there during that period on top of that, and I don't think that's been looked at maybe, but you got to also look at that. But they're going to use this track, I think, in the future. Why wouldn't they? So we've got to, if you're going to do it right.
Okay. So, Chairman Cush, the motion before you tonight to send, and that's why I was asking Ms. Nolan where would we get the money. She's suggesting that we take it from maintenance and we take it from unassigned fund balance, whatever amount you decide on, 101,39,000, and put it into increase maintenance and repair. That's where the other we pay from on the other lights when we repair. Commissioner Cook.
I just want to mention a little, and I hope I'm right in this. The sales office is in Wilson County, so we don't get anything.
That's correct.
It's just like we have several businesses, they have their sales office in another county, and we don't get any revenue from that business.
Well, it's going to be a large attendance, and I would say that we'll probably get, because we have more restaurants and motels than what Wilson County does, so
that's okay. We need some revenue coming from that.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
But maybe some of you didn't understand why we have the traffic light and Wilson County doesn't.
Yes. Well, and we still own some property right as soon as you come off the ramp, and the county mayor came over a couple of months ago and wanted to swap something, and he'd like to have those pieces of property. And I said, what are you going to swap? You going to give me cedars of Lebanon or what? You know, I don't know how you do that. Commissioner Rather.
There are already, I've been involved in some conversations in the last couple months with what's coming, the NASCAR race. There are already companies, businesses looking to relocate out in that 840 Powell's Chapel, Mona Road, in that area. So it's going to grow. And as a former season ticket holder of that racetrack, the very first race they had, it kind of flopped for several reasons. I agree with Commissioner Gammon and can almost guarantee it's not going away. It's actually, in my opinion, it's going to grow to the point to where they're going to have to build more grandstands, because that's the reason the Cup cars wouldn't come there to begin with, because they had to have enough grandstands to get the Cup cars there. So they're running trucks and ARCA and Indy cars. It's not going anywhere. NASCAR, we've all heard it, Nashville, I'm a big NASCAR fan. Nashville's got a big push going to get NASCAR, and the governor and the mayor have guaranteed NASCAR's coming back to Nashville. And it's going to start there, and it's going to grow. It's not going anywhere. So I agree with Commissioner Gammon. If we're going to do it right. Otherwise, we halfway do it, and it's going to cost us in the long run.
Okay, Commissioner Blair.
Chairman, as a member of the Public Works Committee, with the discussion, I think if there had been a do-over vote, we would have passed it with the LED. And just on the safety aspect alone, I believe there's some comments from Chairman Harris, also and Chairman Cush. If it's appropriate, would it be just a simple motion to change that to the LED, or would that be an amendment?
Well, as as what came from Public Works was a positive recommendation for the 18,000. So it didn't go to finance as it probably should have, and so I think it. Nick, Mr. Christensen, would it be appropriate that?
I think it's fine. The expenditure is not very much, and there's not a motion currently before this body anyway, so it would just be a motion from you,
just
Mr. Blair.
Just a motion from you.
I would like to make that motion, Mayor, that we take the add the 5,000 for the LEDs. Lights. Yes,
I second that.
Have a motion and a second. Comments? Questions? And inside that motion, that it would be the money would be decreased. We would decrease 101-39000 unassigned fund balance by $5,000, and increase. Yeah. Okay. It would go to 23,000. 23,000. That's correct. We would increase 101-54130-336 maintenance and repair by 5,000, by 23,000. 23,000.
Decrease unassigned fund balance
23,000. Does everybody understand that? Okay. We're on LEDs at 23,000, taking out an unassigned fund balance to maintenance and repair. Everybody good? Okay. Any further questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Yes. Votes yes. Commissioner Key? Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Votes yes. 20 yes. Motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have K2, Health and Education Report Committee. No report. Property Management Committee. No report. Public Safety Committee. No report. Public Works.
I do have a couple of items I'd like to give an update on.
Yes, sir. Update. You're recognized, Commissioner Chairman Cush.
Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Two quick items. The Public Works Committee, and really the offshoot of the Public Works and Planning, I should say, that is the true name. The offshoot of that is a solid waste subcommittee. We have met twice this week, beginning to review our 9 RFP applicants. We are 1/3 the way through that list with interviews. Would be happy to say that things are moving along so far very smoothly. As you know, this week there has been an announcement by one of the applicants in the RFP process, which is Republic Services here in Rutherford County, and they have asked to expand the Middle Point landfill laterally. They have made a request for growth. That request will go through a regional review and then on to TDEC for review. So it'll be a month, several months of discussion. There will be a public hearing in the first regional review, so the county will have an option, or anybody will have an option, to bring up any discussions or technical points they would like to bring. That being said, Vice Chair Piercy and myself thought it might be a good opportunity to ask for this full commission's support for us to put together a letter under the mayor's signature and perhaps my signature as well as the chair of the Public Works Committee to ask TDEC to delay any decision, up or down, of the review of that application until the Public Works Committee can get through the RFP process and discussion with all the RFP applicants. Here's the main reason. You know, our mission is to work towards an integrated system of our waste disposal. And our goal, the mayor's goal, has always been a zero waste community or a county. Zero is a tough nut to crack, but the interviews that we have had and the technologies we've discussed with so far have talked 90% at least as an achievable number. So diverting 90% of our waste from a landfill. So common sense would tell us that if our mission is to reduce the landfill and our waste by 90, why would we want a neighbor to increase it exponentially to create more space for municipal solid waste? So we're asking TDEC, we would like to ask TDEC to just halt any review and approval for a period of time until we can sit down with all the players in the RFP and come up with an integrated solution on how to handle our waste in Rutherford County. And we would like your support for us to move a letter forward for that.
Is that a motion?
Yes, that is a motion, so I would love a second.
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Commissioner Piercy.
For the time that Mr. Cush is asking that needs to be for 1 year and 1 day from the end of this month. And there's a purpose for that.
All right. I'm acceptable to that time frame. It's going to take a lot of time for both of these committees to review that. Nothing in that government side moves quickly, I would assume. So if you want to explain further, you're welcome to do that.
Okay. We turn in an annual report on our trash works every year. It's due the end of this month. We need a year at least to finish up our RFPs and maybe start toward making a decision. This request that we're asking needs to be put inside this annual report somehow, some verbiage of it, and then I believe the mayor has suggested maybe he would write a letter to TDEC addressing our concerns on this also. The way it stands today, this expansion can come straight through the pipes through TDEC because we have no negativity on this at all in our reports that we have sent down there over the years. They'll look at their report without this and say, them old boys don't care, let's pour it to them, and here it'll come. Now, we can't object to the expansion because they tell us we'll get sued for that. So we're just asking for a delay and a decision to maybe we can show the rest of Middle Tennessee what can be done with the trash. Maybe it will deplete the necessity of a huge expansion in Walter Hill. They might change their mind. They might not. Who knows? But this is one of the last efforts we've got to try to save what we're trying to do. We've put a lot of hours, a lot of time, a lot of late night work in on these RFPs and RFIs, and that's the reason me and Mr. Cush have brought this to y'all. I don't think we're going to get in trouble by doing this because it's a suggestion. We're not demanding anything.
It's a simple ask, and to me, it makes logical sense. You know, we're trying to use technology and science to do what we've been trying to do for years, other than keep adding to the mountain.
I need a point of clarification, Commissioner Piercy. So I'll be happy to write the letter, but that would have to be an amendment to the plan that, you know, they send us the form that Mr. Nolan checks off, so that's the plan that we respond to, and this would have to be an amendment to that. So am I correct?
I think that's right, and so if Mr. Piercy is wanting to amend the current motion on the table to have the mayor and Commissioner Cush send the letter, but also to include language in the plan that's going to be presented for approval to the regional board in a little over a week, you would want to make a formal amendment, and it would need a second.
I will make that amendment for the mayor to write the letter and send it to TDAC and the formal board also, if that's what we need.
So back to Commissioner Gammon. Do you second that, Commissioner Gammon?
I do second that. I'm going to say one more thing. You know, I may be stepping on some toes here, but at the same time, I think many of the commissioners, if not all, we got an issue here. We got 32 counties dumping on us, and that's got to stop. We got to take care of our children, grandchildren, and the future of this county. And I'm very concerned. I can see Mount trash from my house, and I can smell it. And I'm in zone 14. I'm not in Commissioner Rather's zone, but I'm telling you, I get calls on it. I don't get 100 calls, but it's enough that I see it. But the problem is, what are we going to do when that landfill fails and all of a sudden we're stuck with it? And then we got a river that's accepting all kinds of whatever is coming out of that landfill. You probably got four-eyed fish floating out there. You know, God help us at Walter Hill Dam. But I'm just saying it's time. We've got to make some moves on fixing this county. And we got to fix the trash. And I know we got to have trash, but we need to take care of ourselves. It's what it boils down to. People will pay for that if we're taking care of ourselves. But you got private or whatever it's going to be, or you know, public, however we do it. But something's got to give. I don't think there's a citizen out there, because I know it's not a place in the county anybody else wants to dump in their backyard. Trust me. And it's not necessarily in my backyard, but it's in Commissioner Rather's backyard. And he's a brother commissioner, and I know people in Walter Hill and everywhere else, and geez, we got to do something. So that's all I'm going to say.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Gammon, for the second. And your question was, what are we going to do? I think we're in the middle of that, and we've been working since I took office. Probably the second week I took office, we started working in that direction, and that's where we are of RFI, RFP. We've done a lot of visits, so we are actively working. I've got Commissioner Gurley and then Commissioner Piercy. Commissioner Gurley, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Are we going to coordinate with our municipalities to also get similar type of requests? Because I've seen some public comments from the mayor of Murfreesboro, and of course it impacts the two municipalities, Smyrna and Laverne, that are in the north end of the county where I'm at, and I really think we need to, once again, as we have on COVID and some other things, make a united front in the matter.
Sure. Commissioner Piercy?
I have discussed that with the city mayor, and as quick as they can meet and vote, they're going to write a resolution and hand deliver it to Nashville. Speaking of the Nashville part, now I've talked to our state delegates today, two of them in particular. They are on board with trying to help us in this situation, and they have a meeting set up with TDAC this coming week to discuss what's going on with an expansion. This is Mr. Gammon was right. You know, I've preached this ever since I've been on the commission. This is the 7th year. But the general public has no idea whatsoever how our hands are tied as a county commission and the authority we have over the Republic landfill. We have none. I mean, it's zero. It was dealt away many, many years ago with what seemed to be the grandest deal that ever come into Rutherford County. But today, what we're trying to do and trying to discuss this expansion is out of our hands, really. It's going to be at a state level. The state is going to have to, our delegates are going to have to handle this. With the TDAC, we'll have very little influence on it whatsoever, other than trying to add this verbiage to a letter and to the report to maybe let them know, hey, we really don't want it, but we can't say that. So there you are. That's our point.
Let's call for
other discussion. Commissioner Rather.
For almost 3 years, I was on Public Works. We started talking about this. Prior to that, I wasn't naive or whatever about county commission meetings because I've been watching them for years. Now, I recall this commission, less the ones of us that got elected in 2018, they made the same comments Commissioner Gammon made were made back then. That we cannot, the words I remembered, we have to stop being the answer to every other county's trash problem. I remember those words being spoken. And you could almost hear the applause out in the Walter Hill, Jefferson Pike area. And people are so excited about it. Now I'm being blown up because it showed up in the paper that the landfill is going to be expanded. And what amazes me is that for the last, at least 5 years, I've been told the landfill is at total capacity in this amount of time. And that time keeps getting shorter. And then it changes up and it goes back down over the last 3 years I've been involved. Where's the capacity? Did they all of a sudden find capacity? And isn't it amazing the timing? We got so far and all these 9 or, well, let's say 8. If you got total of 9, let's leave Republic out. 8 other people want to help us. Now all of a sudden, I mean, look at the timing. Now all of a sudden, oh, we can expand it. I don't know, something's not right there. It's not in my district. The landfill doesn't sit in my district. But the trash, the residual effects of the landfill are all over my district. I can smell it in my house. And I'm closer than Virgil is. He smells it further away than me. And the garb, we've been talking about this for a decade. So, regardless of our hands being tied, there's going to be an uprising out there because several years ago we told people it's going away. We're going to stop doing this, and now we're backstroking. I don't like to backstroke this way.
Well, thank you for those comments, Commissioner Rather, but it's been going on longer than a decade because in 1990 I ran for county executive at the time, and the race that I was in was with Mr. Mankin and Mr. Robert P.'s father, Bob. The three of us were in a race, and I ran on that landfill. That was my whole issue, my platform. I was new to politics, but that's 30 years ago. And I remember being in a forum, a debate forum for county executive at Central High School on the stage. Mr. Mankin was on my right, Mr. P was on my left, and we were talking about the landfill because I made that a big issue because it had just opened in '88. And Mr. P made a classic, and I'll never forgot it. He made the comment, Robert. He said, the Indians never did place their outhouse upstream from where they get their drinking water. And that's so true. Still today, Murfreesboro collects our drinking water downstream from this. So it's an issue that's got to be dealt with. The trash is not going to stop, but I think that we're on the right path with Commissioner Cush's committee and trying to find a resolution for the next 25 years. Other comments?
There?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to apologize to Commissioner Piercy. I forgot to not include you in there because I know you're an advocate of what's right and wrong on the landfill. And I know your people get enough of the smell also. But I've been around a long, long time. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm not going to play the past. But I was around back in those days, and I know that at one point, you know, be honest with you, I was going to tell you, I tried to get access to the records and the contracts and everything else, and those records were sealed for 50 years, just to let you know back then. So you couldn't see what went on with the sale. Now, I'm just going to say things that didn't smell right. Don't mean to say the wrong thing. I apologize if I do. But I'm telling you, this has been going on, like Mayor Ketron said, for many, many, many years. And it's time for us to make a move to do the right thing in the right direction for the community and the citizens of this county. And I'm not running for mayor. I'm just telling you that we got to do something. We got to do something. So that's all I got to say.
Okay, members, we have we need to vote on the amendment first, and then we will vote on the motion as amended. Everybody understand where we're at? Madam Clerk?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, he asked for restate the amendment.
Let me go up here to the front.
I can't tell if Rick is about to read it to us or if he...
No, she's doing the right thing. We've got two things going on here at once, and it was well stated on the front end, so go ahead.
Ask for support from the mayor and Cush. Ask TDAC to delay the review, approval of the application until the Public Works can review. That motion, the original motion, was made by Cush, seconded by Virgil Cammon. And then you want the amendment?
The amendment to that?
The amendment to that would be to add 1 year and 1 day.
And also that this goes to the report.
The annual report.
That is currently pending.
And the letter is signed by the mayor and the chairman of Public Works Committee.
Yes.
Is that clear enough?
Okay, so we'll be...
Two votes.
We'll be voting on the amendment first. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cush?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Wayne Blair?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Votes yes. Commissioner Key? Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner
Yes.
Votes yes.
Okay.
It's 20 yes. Motion
Amendment passes. Back on the motion as amended. Any further questions? Seeing none, call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner David Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner P?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Mike Cush?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Virgil Gammon?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner McAdoo? Votes yes. Commissioner Key? Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Votes yes. Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Votes yes. 20 yes, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Last item. Let's just say the champagne is chilling, okay? I'm not quite undoing the cork just yet, but I have it on very good authority that on the governor's desk to sign is a bill to remove our current development tax of $1,500 and go to the requested dollar per square foot that we lobbied for several months ago. Just this year alone, if this was in play, we would have put $2.2 additional million into the kitty. Over the last 7 years, it would have put in the teens of millions of dollars to the kitty. If you do the simple math, $1,500, which is our current fee, at $1 per square foot, that's a 1,500 square foot house. The average square foot house in Rutherford County today is over 2,000 square feet. So we're making money. Now, has this happened overnight? No. Has Jeff Phillips, when he was a little boy, been advocating for this? Yes. Has every year he stood up and asked that we do something with our legislative body to change the current laws? Yes. Has it fallen on deaf ears for decades? Yes. So we have finally broken the ice just a little bit. Jeff, I'm on the Public Works Committee. Jeff is the chairman of the Public Works, I'm sorry, strike that. Jeff is chairman of the Planning Commission. I am also on the Planning Commission. Jeff, again, as he's gotten older and his hair has turned slightly antique white, he's getting a little more grouchy. So he said, I challenge you to do something with this development tax. It's just not paying for itself. We cannot sustain. All true statements. So with me on Public Works, I was the natural bridge from also on the Planning Commission and Public Works Commission to take his task at heart. I formed an infrastructure subcommittee, an infrastructure select committee, which Phil Dodd, Paul Johnson, and Planning Commissioner Jim Averwater was on, as well as myself. We met multiple times with the real estate heads of this county, Real Estate Association, the Building Association of this county, a few state representatives. We met with Williamson County heads. I met with some Wilson County heads to try and find out how to skin the cat. The good news was most of the real estate folks and the builders realized that we were in a pickle, realized that the $1,500, I mean, why do you think, really, why do you think building is so strong in Rutherford County? Because it's dadgum cheap to develop here. That's why. All the surrounding counties' development taxes are 2 times to 3 times to 4 times higher than ours, because the way we elected to collect the tax and establish the tax was an archaic way many, many years ago. The counties around us were smarter than we were. So we had a long hill to climb. So anyway, we finally got a little buy-in by those folks that build and sell. Brother Craig Harris, chairman of steering, did a little investigating on his own and found some loopholes in the current law. Brought that to the attention to the steering committee, which I'm also on. We connected the dots. We resurrected again the challenge to find a way to challenge our state representatives or legislative body to say, look, we finally got you. Now you got to listen to us. And they did. So I want to thank Craig Harris, as well as Phil, Paul Johnson, Jim Averwater, and of course Jeff Phillips, for never giving up. Now, is this $1 a square foot the answer? No. It's a start. We still got a lot to do. There's still other avenues to research. We still have to find make developers pay their way on the infrastructure and the roads. The dollar is not going to still sustain us, but it's a start. So that's the good news. Champagne's chilling. Thank you very much. Do you have a question, Steve? Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
That concludes your report.
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steering report. Chairman Craig, no report. Next, members, we have other business. At this point, I would like to call on Speaker Pro Tem to come up and take over as chairman and grant me permission to approach the well.
Thank you, Mayor Ketron. I don't have a lot to do. Actually, there's just one thing left on this agenda here, and it's under other business. And without objection, I would like to allow our mayor to speak and address this commission. So without objection, Mayor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of this honorable commission. My name and position has been called into question for the last little over 2 years. And I told you that once things were concluded, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your support, who said, let's wait till the election registry concludes their findings, and then I would be happy to come back and tell the other side of the story. I met with the registry yesterday, stood before them for approximately 3.5 hours, and went through their findings. So I'd like to take this opportunity, and these are very similar to the words that I spoke yesterday. There are a few additions or deletions, but I'd like to take this opportunity to address the issues of my recent audit with the state registry. Thank you for your support until this audit was over, to tell this side of my story. As you know, the registry met yesterday, and I replied to every question with full cooperation. I've been extremely embarrassed by this whole situation. At the outset, I accepted full responsibility for what occurred. I also want to clarify that none, underscore none, of my campaign funds were knowingly used for non-campaign purposes. Were mistakes made? Yes. Did I knowingly or intentionally make them? No. I want to put all this into context to help you understand what happened to cause these issues and what has already happened as a result of my audit. I'm going to take you back to approximately 2014. I discovered a small bump in my lip. Some of you may have heard this story. Found a small bump in my lip and didn't know what it was, but I went to see my doctor in Nashville at Centennial. He thought it was a blocked salivary gland. Played around with it. Said get some lemon drops, suck on that, see if it goes away. It didn't. Did for a while, but it came back. So fall of 14, I went back to him and he said, you know, let's just be on the safe side. I still think it's blocked salivary gland. Let me take you down the hall to my buddy. He's an ENT. We'll take a look at it. He looked at it, played with it, twisted my lip all up one side down the other, and he said, I'd really like to get a sample of that. So he slit my lip open and took a section of tissue out. Sent it off and came back from the laboratory. It was delayed because it was right before Thanksgiving of that fall of 14. Get a phone call. Teresa and I were at Publix shopping, getting last minute stuff like everybody else the day before Thanksgiving. And he called me and said, I'm sorry, I usually call people in, my patients in, but I'm trying to get to see my parents tomorrow for Thanksgiving. And the report came back and it wasn't good. He said, you're between stage 3 and stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It could have knocked me down. I just froze and held on to the basket. Immediately, I come back in and he gets me lined up with my oncologist, Dr. Flynn, there at Sarah Cannon. So the day that I was scheduled on December the 24th to get my port put in to start my cancer treatment was the day that my mother passed. So that was hard to take. So every 20 days I received a heavy dose of chemo, of different types of chemo. Got to the end of that. That was during session. I never missed a vote representing my constituents here in Rutherford County. Had to go back between sessions and committees and lay down on the couch, but I didn't miss a vote. Got to the end of May and finished my 5 treatments, and he said, you're full stage 4. It didn't work. I said, wow, what do we do next? He said, you have an opportunity for stem cell, and if that works, then if you can accept your own cells, then we'll extract them, clean them, put them back in. If you don't, then we'll have to find a donor, and you may not make it because you'll be on a donor list, and we'll search globally trying to find a donor. So fortunately, I was able to extract my own cells and put them back in, but that meant I had 0 immune system. That immune system took me down to dust, plant flora, cat dander, anything could have killed me because I was like the old movie of The Boy in the Bubble. So I had to go into quarantine. So it was at that point in time I turned to my daughter Kelsey. I had no other choice but to delegate all of my responsibilities, from my checking account to everything that I did. I turned it over to her to run the business. My mother had been the patriarch patriot of our business, insurance business, which was 50 years old just this past year. And when she passed, after my dad had passed, Kelsey was the only one that I felt, she was 24, qualified enough to step up and take the reins. She was a smart young lady. So Kelsey was my rock during that period of time. She helped me do everything, and I will always be forever thankful for everything that she did for me. She was my superhero. I believe she could do anything. And I'm sure those of you that have children will understand that feeling. But what I didn't realize at the time, that for everything that she did for me, she was still 24, and she had a lot to learn. In hindsight, I gave her too much responsibility, which was my fault. It wasn't hers. After reviewing my audit reports with my attorneys and my accountants, we were still filing corrections to my filings as late as the day before yesterday. These issues caused by poor accounting and administrative practices. They were not intentional attempts to break the rules or misuse any funds. It is clear from the audit that the money that came in was not reported precisely as it should have been. It is not mystery money, because the audit, with our corrections and explanations as late as the day before yesterday, show where the money came from and where it went. Once again, it was a matter of poor bookkeeping, administrative practices, and inaccurate cataloging. I addressed yesterday the audit and the registry's past rulings that had issued fines for late filings. These two issues are related, and several deadlines were missed. I had numerous findings that I was unaware of. For example, my PAC, annual registration, my Political Action Committee PAC. There's an annual registration fee in the application. It's a one-page, send in $100, and it just keeps you registered. That was sent in several months late, but the fine was $10,000. As a businessman, I promise you, I would have paid $100 versus $10,000 if I had been aware. I acknowledge that ultimately it was my fault for not keeping close tabs on these issues, although I did push my treasurer to make those filings. When those filings were made, they were probably all done quickly in a day or two. As a result, they included some serious accounting and bookkeeping errors, such as omitting transactions, incorrect postings, and failing to make sure the transactions and balances set forth in the bank statements were accurately reported. In another instance discovered in the audit process, the entire deposit, one entire deposit, was mistakenly overlooked and not entered into the online disclosure. However, that has since been accurately submitted. The initial balances that were reported created a significant issue because of the premise for which the audit was conducted. Working from an incorrect starting point, my starting point balance was incorrect, and from that point forward, as the audit continued in Nashville, it skewed everything. You can't start with an incorrect balance and you're going to end up with an incorrect balance. So I believe it is evident that this was done in haste and lack of attention and detail, not any intent to skirt the law or avoid any full disclosure. With that being said, I understand the importance of campaign finance laws and the seriousness of this situation. It's been driven home to me time and time again how serious this was, especially for my wife. My family and I have been dealing with the fallout of these issues for nearly 2 years now. We've suffered personally, professionally, and last but not least, financially. I had to make many difficult decisions. I was forced to sell my family's insurance business, which my parents, as I stated earlier, started over 50 years ago, and that of which I had devoted many decades of my life to. I've had to pay several settlements out of my pocket. My company and my family have been ordered to pay over $40,000 in fines to other tribunals. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on attorneys and accountants to cooperate with the audits and to fix as many of these problems as possible. Going forward, as I shared with the question was from the auditors yesterday and the registry board. So tell us, Mayor Ketron, what are you doing going forward? And I promised them I never wanted to come back again. I have retained a new treasurer. I have a new CPA to help me ensure that these problems will never arise again in the future. Again, let me just say that these are not excuses, but merely an explanation that I promised you, that I would tell you the other side of the story. So I wanted to put all this in full context tonight. When I talked a minute ago about the fallouts of the issues of the slanderous words from people on Facebook, from the just grotesque things that people would say, I'm a big boy, okay? I understand. I volunteered for this position, so you have to have, as all of you do, when you say that you want to run for office, we live in a glass house and we have to understand that. The thing that really bothered me the most was a comment, even after the death threats, after the move out of town, all the things they would say about my family, my daughter, my wife. I learned to live with that for the last 2 years. But the thing that bothered me the most, and you may laugh about this, but there was comments about when I was doing some video about wearing the mask and et cetera. There were some comments about this ring that I wear, okay? I'm not a bling person, okay? I wear it because it's a big ring. I wear it on that small finger because I shake so many hands. It hurts that, if you put it on the second one, it hurts the rest of your hand when somebody cramps down on it and does it hard, but I wear it. And for those who made fun of that, saying it was my secret decoder ring and it was my pinky ring, and you know, those comments, I took that to heart because in 1995-96, I was honored by my peers in the National Exchange Club. I'd gone up through the chairs and been president of the local club here. I became state president and then went on to become national president of the National Exchange Club out of Toledo. The national project for the National Exchange Club is child abuse prevention. Through that period of time with the National Association for the Prevention of Child Abuse, this ring represents 1,727,800 children that have come through our 222 child abuse prevention centers across the country. It represents 691,120 families that have broken the cycle of child abuse. So for those who just want to look for anything to try to tear you down, the next time you want to make fun of this ring, for those people who are listening, which I'm sure you are, and you'll say something about it tonight as soon as I leave, think about who you're talking about, what this ring represents. It's not me. It's the children. But I want to talk about the future of where we are. This is not a state of the county address, but folks, we have created a great team. We're doing a lot of things. Things are coming at us fast. I'm so proud of each and every committee that is working. We step up to the plate. It comes at us so fast, but we're dealing with it. People are recognizing the goals that we have set to be the best county in the state of Tennessee. And as Chairman Reed says many times, so goes Rutherford, so goes Tennessee. And that is true. People are watching us. They're watching us what we're doing on our solid waste issues. They're watching us in so many ways. Our education, what we're doing here. Why is Rutherford County the #1 destination of U-Hauls, as Tennessee is the #1 state for U-Hauls? Because we're doing things right. People want a piece of this action. It's up to us to lead, and I think that this is the 8 years I served on the county commission. It was a different time, slower pace, but this commission here, it's an enjoyment for me to serve you on a daily basis. I think from the day that I took this office, I have tried to be as transparent as possible to anything that you need. My office has tried to respond to. So, in conclusion, I'll continue to serve and work for you, work for the people of Rutherford County. We were stellar. Our departments are stellar. Our department heads have stepped up through this pandemic like no other. People from throughout the whole Southeast were seeing what we were doing. We were the first to get PPEs. We were the first to get aprons. We were shaking it down. We got a lot coming. We got a lot of opportunities and growth ahead of us, and the sky's the limit for Rutherford County, and it's a pleasure to serve in this capacity and be your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ketron. Last on our agenda, item M, is statements and announcements.
You know you can't get out of here without hearing about a Kittrell ham breakfast. This Saturday, the 17th, from 6 to 10. We invite all of you to come out and have breakfast with you. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other items to be discussed? Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May the 13th, and it'll be at 6 p.m. in this courtroom. Nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you.